Hello everybody, welcome back to another election video. This time we're taking a look back at the 2024 election with an interesting hypothetical. So the hypothetical basically is Nikki Haley somehow wins the Republican primary. Now I think Nikki Haley definitely would have been a stronger candidate than Trump. She was winning really well among moderates and independents. But at the same time, she could be alienating to a lot of Trump voters, especially the more populist types of ones. But the thing is, she makes up for all those losses with all those gains among independent and moderate voters, like I said. She was really dominating in a lot of the nationwide opinion polling right here. There's the only times where she was really behind was when there was a lot of undecideds inside the poll. And most of these polls, she's up by 10, especially the CNN poll, Wall Street Journal, a Fox News poll also had her up by 10. So in a lot of these polling, she was leading very far ahead because she really portrayed herself as a more moderate type of Republican, and that really did a lot of good things to her polling numbers here, just giving her quite a big lead here. Again, a lot of the polls that had her down were the ones with a ton of undecideds. So polls where there wasn't a lot of undecideds, she was up. So again, I think Nikki Haley definitely would have won. It's really just about how big of a win would she get. And I would say she would have a pretty substantial win. So for now, we're setting up the safe blue states. These are states that are won by Biden by an over 10% margin and are just not going to be competitive at all. Now we're going to set up the safe red states. Now, she would already win all the states that Trump won by over 10 here. And I really disagree that she would have, like, somehow an independent would have came in here and won some states instead of her. I really doubt that. It wouldn't have been RFK Jr. just suddenly surging out of nowhere. Again, he's most of the time in politics, you vote for one or the other party. It's independents usually fizzle out, like we saw with Ross Perot in the 1992 election, even though he was leading early on as an independent. So I think I hit all the safe red states. So forgot Ohio. All right, let's get into the more competitive states. These are states that are under 10 points, but they're still won by an over 5% margin. So in states like Arizona, Nevada, I think Nikki Haley definitely would have won these states by likely Republican margins. She would have done better with independent voters in the state of Nevada, definitely carrying it by probably 6 points. In Arizona, there's real argument that she could have won it by over 10, but I'm going to say she wins it by 9 just to be conservative here. She wouldn't have won by that big of a landslide in Arizona. Colorado definitely would have dipped below 10, in my opinion. New York as well. It would have been only like a 7-ish point victory for Biden. I really think Nikki Haley would have got those margins down in a lot of parts in New York. Connecticut's also one of those states where I could see it dipping below 10. Same with Rhode Island. Again, she was beating Biden here by like a 7 point margin on average. So we would see a lot of these states that are safe blue go down to likely blue. What other ones? Well, Maine's first would still be safe blue. That's still a pretty blue district. Let's head to Georgia and North Carolina. And already Biden was really behind to Trump in both these states by likely Republican margins. And I think it would be the same case with Nikki Haley here. I think she would be ahead of Biden by a pretty decent margins in both these two states. In the state of Michigan, Biden was doing terrible in Michigan's polling. Even with Trump, he was down by like 5 in the polling against him in this state before he dropped out. He was some polls had him down by 7. So with Nikki Haley as the nominee, I also think that she would have won this state by a likely Republican margin. Same with Wisconsin. Again, Marquette University, they did a poll in Wisconsin. They had her up by, I believe, 18 points. So she was crushing Biden in the state of Wisconsin. I don't think she would have been won by a safe margin like that poll says, but I think she would have done pretty well there, winning it by probably 6 points, similar to Michigan's 6 point victory. And Pennsylvania, I think it would have been like a 5 point win for Nikki Haley. Again, he was pretty behind in Pennsylvania to Trump, and I think with Nikki Haley, she would have done better with independents in this state, getting much better margins with them. So now we just pretty much hit all of these states so far. She also would have carried Maine second by over 10. So she's already matched Trump's winning margin against Harris here. So let's see how many more states she could win. Another one of those states is Virginia. I think her being a neoconservative would appeal well to the state of Virginia. It's a more establishment state. I think she would be quite palatable to a lot of moderate slash establishment voters to really win in this state of Virginia. So I think she would have carried it by about 3. Nebraska's second. I also think she would have carried it by about 3. Minnesota, listen, she's winning the popular vote by 7 on average. She's taking Minnesota. She's doing well enough with moderates to really win this state. Going over to New Hampshire, I think this was one of her better states in the Republican primary, so I think she also would have done very well with independents, so I think she would have carried this state. Same with neighboring Maine, I also think she would have won that state. And we're still not done yet. So Oregon, I think that would have dipped below 10. I think that would have been a likely blue state on the map here. And now we have New Mexico, Illinois, New Jersey. So I think we'll go with New Jersey coming up next. And beginning with this, Biden was really struggling in New Jersey against Trump even. He was narrowly trailing in some polls here. So I think Nikki Haley could have definitely won the state of New Jersey, especially if she's doing that well in the popular vote. I think she would have been able to carry the state of New Jersey by a tilt margin. Now we're down to Illinois, New Mexico. I think Illinois actually would have been only a 4-point win for Biden against Nikki Haley. I think she had a real shot at this state, just judging by how big of a popular vote margin she had in most of these polls right here. So I think she would have probably put Illinois into play. In the state of New Mexico, I think it was narrow enough in 2024, and Biden was kind of struggling in the state of New Mexico against Trump, only up by 1 or 2 against him. So I think New Mexico definitely would have been in play because of Nikki Haley's margins among independents here. Probably would have made it a narrow flip for her. So Nikki Haley would have had an electoral landslide of 361 electoral votes against Joe Biden, just because of how well she would be able to appeal to moderates and independents. But at the same time, she would lose some Trump voters, especially the populist ones in the Rust Belt. But I think she would kind of gain more with those independents. So I think she would fix that problem by just gaining more among those voters. So that's kind of how I see this hypothetical matchup going if it was these two candidates as the nominees. But 2024, none of them were the nominees here. So this is purely just a hypothetical, just a guess on what would have happened in 2024 if these two were the nominees. Other than that, thanks so much for watching. If you're new to this channel and you enjoy content like this, you should definitely consider subscribing. I make videos like this all the time. Hypotheticals, future election predictions, what if scenarios. So I would appreciate it a lot if you were to subscribe to the channel and also leave some video recommendation ideas down in the comments. I'll definitely look into doing them. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.